What do you know? The Eagles are 4-0, exorcised some demons in Tampa, and are the only undefeated team in the NFC. And yet, the vibes are just weird. So what's going on with A.J. Brown? How much blame does Kevin Patullo deserve? And just how bad is the offense really? In this video, I'll break it all down for what went wrong and why there's still signs of life. Plus, Nakobe Dean could be coming back soon, and the defense lost another pass rusher. However, multiple beat writers are tying Jalen Phillips to the Birds, and it could be perfect timing. So let's talk about it. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? The Eagles won. They're 4-0. They're the only undefeated team in the NFC. Yet, listening to a lot of the narratives around recently, you'd think that the Eagles lost to the Bucs on Sunday.
To say we are concerned is an understatement.
Okay, I get that it's not looked pretty at times. However, it's also important to remember that the Eagles just opened up a season with a win over their biggest division rival, beat the defending AFC champions on the road, also got a win over a perennial playoff team in the Rams, and then followed that up by beating another undefeated team that's had Philly's number in recent seasons. Just saying, taking that into account, a little bit of perspective, plus the Eagles have a giant target on their back for winning the Super Bowl. They just went undefeated through probably their most difficult stretch of the entire season. I mean, you should at least have a smile on your face. Yet some people are still choosing to be gloom and doom.
Could you not smile like that? Now you're asking me to mask my emotions because of how it makes you feel? That I will not do.
Look, I don't blame you for demanding better from the team. They do need to be better, but this is a far cry from 2023. Don't worry, I'll explain more on that, but even if you're more pessimistic coming away from the win in Tampa, there is a reason to get hyped. Because like I do every week after an Eagles win, I'm going to give away 2 tickets to 1 lucky subscriber of the channel. So just drop a like for me. You got to leave a comment. Any takeaway from the game, leave a comment, drop a like, make sure you're subscribed. 1 lucky subscriber is going to get 2 Eagles tickets because they won. Like I say, let me know your biggest takeaway from the win over the Bucs in the comment section. Now personally, I think I'd have to go with exorcising the demons in Tampa Bay. After all, the Bucs have tortured the Eagles over the last few contests, like in both of the past wildcard games in 2021 and 2023. And then we all remember the recent blowout loss last year, and heck, you realize that Sirianni has only lost 3 playoff games during his time as head coach, but 2 of those have been to the Bucs. Also, prior to Sunday's win, Sirianni and Jalen had only had a 1-4 record against Todd Bowles, so regardless of the all wins are important narrative, this one meant a little bit more.
Every game is circled, and they're all circled with their own reasons of why. And I think being able to come and find a win in a very competitive and tough environment against a really good team, a well-coached team, that's something you take pride in.
We knew that was going to be a dogfight. It's good to start off that way. 4-0 is good, right? It's good. What did we talk about all week, though? Don't let good get in the way of great, right? We got a lot of work to do. Enjoy every second of this. It's f***ing hard to win in the National Football League. It's hard to win in the National Football League. It's even harder to win on the road against a good opponent. Enjoy this. Right, enjoy it.
Forgive me if I'm still enjoying the fact that we're 4-0. Don't get me wrong, though, there's a ton to clean up. And just to make my stance clear, let me say this. If the Eagles' offense is still looking like this after their bye around, week 10, then yes, I will for sure be concerned even if we're 8-0. Of course, digging into the numbers and film, I gotta apologize because the Eagles are reverting back to 2023. After Philly became the first team since the 2023 Raiders to win an NFL game without completing a single pass in the second half.
Really? That's impressive.
The crazy part is that NFL teams are actually 15-1 since 2000 when they don't complete a single pass in the second half. Although despite that record, yes, it goes without saying, that cannot happen again with this team. And not gonna lie, it really looked like Kevin Patullo had turned a page on the playbook and found that aggressiveness we all wanted to see in the first half on Sunday. I mean, just about everything KP dialed up was working, with the Eagles outgaining the Bucs 201 yards to 99 yards and outscoring them 24-6 in the first 30 minutes. You gotta admit, it was pretty incredible what we saw in the first half. Like somehow, QB1 played better in the first half against Tampa than he did in the second half versus the Rams in Week 3, which speaks for itself by the fact that Jalen was 15 for 16 for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, helping the Eagles average 7.2 yards per play. Oh, and it just so happened to be Hurts' best completion percentage of his career in the first half at 94%. Unfortunately, though, that was followed very quickly by the first time in his career that he didn't complete a single pass in the second half, leading to a very understandable question: which group is the Eagles?
I don't know, Zach. I mean, hopefully we're the one from the first half.
We're both. And that's just, when we're firing, we're really hard to stop, especially with the offensive power we have. But when we're playing bad, we're really playing bad. So we just got to do a better job of playing better than worse.
We were in a good place at 2-2 last year. We had a lot of opportunity in front of us. I think we're in a good place now, no different, because we had a lot of opportunity in front of us. And so we're looking at the standard of execution. You guys may look at the record and say, well, you know, be a hound for negativity in some regard, but, you know, regardless of where you are, when you're this early in the season, you're still searching to try and elevate and play to a standard of execution.
Okay, serious question. Coming away from it, taking a little bit more time to think about it, which group is this team? Is it the second half in the Rams game, the first half in the Bucs game, or is it the other ones that we've seen? Honestly, I'm with those of you who still say they've earned the benefit of the doubt. And yet, at the same time, like Zach Berman said, all of us who lived through 2023 are completely justified in thinking winning with flaws isn't sustainable. For the record, it's not. Heck, they've got 10 of 11 starters returning. We talked about this all offseason. Probably, 9 are potential Pro Bowlers, or some of them former, but potential Pro Bowlers. They have the talent. I don't know, maybe that's what makes the drought for entire halves so unbelievable so far this season. However, the argument on this team being doomed for the fate of 2023 is taking it a bit too far. Again, they do need to be better this year, but the first 4 wins of the 2023 season ended up being against teams that would combine to go 24-44 that season. And FYI, the quarterbacks they played in those games were Mac Jones, Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Howell. Whereas then you fast forward to this year, and we're talking about wins over 3 very likely playoff teams and quarterbacks of Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, and Baker Mayfield. Having said that, I get it. You're right. The defense is not the problem or the majority of the problem. There's a little bit with an edge rusher situation. More news on that one in a second. But mostly the defense is held in check. Ultimately, it's the offense is going to dictate how far this team goes. And I'm genuinely curious, not saying that he deserves a pass by any means, yet if Kevin Patullo deserves the blame for the abysmal second half from the offense, then who deserves the credit for the stellar first half? Take a second to chew on that one for a bit, and while you're doing that, make sure to grab a Chomps to sponsor today's video. Listen, if you're grabbing snacks that leave you crashing an hour later, you're doing it wrong. That's why I keep Chomps stocked up, because these are meat sticks made with 100% grass-fed beef. We're also talking no sugar, no nasty fillers, just fuel that actually tastes amazing. And right now, if you go to chomps.com/Philly Special or scan the QR code and use code Philly Special, you'll get 15% off your order and free shipping. I'm telling you, with the way my schedule is, these things are perfect. I just toss a couple in my bag or keep them with me throughout the day, and I've got a snack that works as hard as I do. By the way, my favorite is the original, my wife loves the jalapeno, and they've got so many different options. Seriously, feel free to drop a comment in the chat for what your favorite flavor is. Oh, they're also Whole30 approved, keto-friendly, and gluten-free, so no matter how you eat, they fit. Again, just go to chomps.com/Philly Special or scan the QR code and use code Philly Special to get 15% off your Chomps order and free shipping. To be fair, tired or not, 7 points and 33 yards after halftime is inexcusable. Like, I'm sorry, but the players are way too good for Hurts to go 0 for 8 in the second half, Saquon Barkley to go 12 for 25, A.J. Brown barely even getting used, and the Eagles average 1.1 yards per play. By the way, that doesn't even count the negative 34-yard intentional safety at the end. So call it like it was. The O-line struggled to protect, play calling was predictable and mundane, and Hurts made some really bad reads and throws in the second half.
Second half, they got us, right? We didn't play. We had enough of a lead, and we made enough turnovers to hang on to the lead, but you know, we obviously played good there. Running game, passing game, it was everything. It wasn't just you can't single out one. This is a team game. It's never just. I don't ever think it's just one, because sometimes you're in 2nd and 11, and then that because of an incomplete pass or a sack or whatever it is. So or a minus run. So it's never just one thing in my mind.
Another thing that's fair to wonder is, did the no-call hit on Jalen Hurts in the third quarter play a factor? Granted, it's not like the offense was good prior to that in the second half, but you did start to question if Hurts should have been checked out for a concussion. Obviously, yes, glad he was able to finish the game, but he was so much sharper and had answers against the blitz more often in the first half.
They come at him right here with his fire zone right here, and he's got the hot read out here to Saquon. All right, nobody covers him, picks up 12 yards. All right, but it was one after another. You watch this right here, this blitz zero on the 4th play of the game. Here they come, and he finds Devontae Smith right here on a quick slant, all right, against Jalen Dean. Like, one play after another. Like, it discouraged Todd Bowles a little bit. Like, excellent pickup here by A.J. Dillon coming off the edge. Gives Jaelan time to sit in that pocket and make this throw on the outside to Dallas Goedert. All right, pick up 8 yards and I think just short of a first down. And then you watch this right here. These crossers. All right, double crossers in the middle right here, and here comes Calcaterra. All right, the Bucs don't really pick it up. Again, against the blitz, except for some things that happened in the fourth quarter, they were almost flawless in the first 40 minutes of this game. 3rd and 5, 2 minutes to go. All right, here we go. Here it comes, another max blitz right here. And there's the throw. Perfect right there to A.J. Brown for 9 yards and a first down. Like, they were very good against the blitz, especially in the first half, against a defense that lives on the blitz.
The other area that comes into play here is adjustments, and maybe that's why it's been the past couple weeks. It's only like one half. Like, they're either making the adjustments based on what the defense is doing, or they're not making the adjustments. Because although Bowles blitzed a ton in the first half and Hurts had an answer, he actually only sent more than 4 rushers once. Otherwise, it was all simulated pressures. Like, take this play, for example. It definitely looks like Hurts has a 0 blitz coming, and Jaelan even signals to Saquon to pick up the block on the right side. Unfortunately, though, as the ball is snapped, it's only a simulated pressure, and Barkley goes left, forcing Jaelan to get rid of it much quicker than he wanted to. Oh, also, if you look closely, you can see QB1 reacting after the play to the obvious miscommunication in the second half.
Execution.
Give Bowles some credit. Look, the Bucs are a good team. He went against his tendencies. Usually he blitzes. This time it was simulated pressures, and it threw off the Eagles. Again, that goes for everyone, yet even with the warranted blame of play calling and other areas of execution, the biggest weakness might be the O-line, which, is pretty shocking all things considered. Okay, fine. Grant Calcaterra not blocking is to be expected, so for Patullo and Sirianni to continue sending him out there in bunch formations is flat out idiotic.
Fool me once, strike one. But fool me twice, strike 3.
To be fair, you could make the argument for the bunched formations and runs right up the gut. I don't know if Jaelan can check out of those looks or make adjustments, but yes, play calling again can certainly be better. However, when you see the several run looks Saquon Barkley is getting combined with the porous offensive line, it's no wonder the dude is only averaging 3.1 yards per carry. One more time, you may think that I am, but I'm not giving Kevin Patullo a free pass. But still, you look at this and go, in no world, I don't care who you are, the Eagles O-line, the players that they have, Saquon Barkley should have more than 0.05 yards after contact on average per rush, and yet that's where we're at. Not making that up. He had just 1 yard before contact on 19 carries versus the Bucs. And his weekly rushing totals have steadily declined from 88 in week 1 to 60 in week 2 to 46 in week 3, and finally just 43 against Tampa. Like, I'm sorry, I know the Bucs have some guys on the D-line. They've limited teams to 11 straight games under 100 yards of rushing. They're a good, dominant team at stopping the run. But that is embarrassing for a Jeff Stoutland unit, 4 straight games. Now, to their credit, though, they do recognize it, and the players playing better is definitely fixable.
We got to do a better job of adjusting to that and having answers to that. And I got to do a better job. The running game always starts with me, and I'm a big believer in that. And when the running game's going good, when the running game going bad, I got to own it, and I just got to be better. But the beauty of it is we're not running the ball too great, and we're 4-0.
You look at the play, it's just that we're one block away, and it's just like, if I stick that block, it's a gash. You just look at each drive that we had in that second half, and it's the right play call. It's just the execution is wrong. So we just have to do a better job at execution, and the only way we do that is practice.
This week, that is that's going to be my emphasis as a leader on this team, is especially for the O-line, because it starts with us, is that we need to break that huddle faster. Shoot. Don't care if we don't even get the play. Let's just get to the line, and Jaelan can tell us the play while we're at the line. Let's just get set. Issue last year, I think it could have used a lot more work last year, that we could have made it an emphasis, which we were. I just think this year we kind of we're slacking off. We're slacking off, and we've got to pick up that urgency just so we can play free, man. I'm tired of breaking the clock, and we have no seconds to make calls.
If you've watched the film, you know it's a head scratcher. And I would argue, not that I have any inside information, just my personal opinion here, but Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens are more banged up than we thought. We had the knee injury for Landon Dickerson, also the back injury. Nothing officially on the injury report last week. Cam Jurgens, the back surgery over the offseason. There's something, if you just watch this group, it's not playing up to the full potential. And I haven't even gotten to Tyler Steen yet. FYI, credits Anthony DeBona for the insight, but Landon has already allowed 13 pressures on 3 sacks through Philadelphia's first 4 games. And to put that in perspective, Dickerson has never allowed more than 5 sacks in a single season. Plus now you got Tyler Steen dealing with a knee injury and Lane Johnson who had to leave a second game this season, this time due to a shoulder injury in the first half against Tampa. And you start to put 2 and 2 together of why they're having some more issues, but it's still not telling the full story. By the way, Tyler Steen, 4 pressures against the Bucs, mainly in the second half. Either way, for the ground game, I would love to see a bit more 11 personnel. Not only because it works and spreads things out, but also gets Can't Blockatera off the field. Sorry, just want to reiterate how much Johnny Wilson's absence was massively underrated when he first got injured for the season at camp as a blocking mismatch. Anyway, that still doesn't excuse the fact that we can see some of the most amazing creativity like this and then go away from it and get all conservative.
You come out and stack formation up top with your 2 receivers. Okay, they're playing man down there if you're Tampa Bay defensively. Devontae goes in motion, he runs with. Once he goes in motion, that triggers the backside backer. And now since it's a single receiver, go press man if you're the corner, backside backer, you're the trigger guy, okay? Second thing is you get this pull and what looks to be a pull. So you pull the backside guard and what looks to be the backside tight end. It almost looks like you're running like a quarterback counter bash where you would either give the ball to the back or quarterback would follow, okay? And then the third wrinkle would be that it's instead of quarterback run, it's that Goddard little shovel pass. So this is the cool part of it. So your Hurts, you're really reading, I would imagine you're reading like that defender and this defender, because if those guys collapse down hard, like if those guys collapse down, you would just hand this ball off to Saquon. Looks like AJ's job is to go pick that backer, and it would be a foot race to the pylon. That backer does his job, it looks like, of taking Saquon. And so you can't hand it off. And then this backside guard is the puller for that frontside backer shovel pass. But look how quickly it happens for Hurts. Like, look at all that decision-making now. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
There it is. We had moments in the first half like that, of plays where you go, what is that for one? But yes, let's do that more. And then maybe it's just the fact that we do see that it makes it more frustrating because we know the offense has that potential, which is why I don't blame A.J. Brown for being frustrated after the game. However, am I the biggest fan of him airing out his frustration in a cryptic tweet? No. But let's not overreact that this is him asking for a trade or wanting out. Heck, whether you believe that or not, just glance at the dead cap hit alone tells you everything you need to know about how impossible a trade would be anyway. At the same time, we're talking about one of the best receivers in the game, who 3 out of 4 games now has been held to, you combine the yardage, 42 yards. You take 3 of the 4 games, 42 yards, he has every right to be upset. Which, sure, he got 9 targets, but when you go back and look at it, several of them were forced throws and others were well off the mark from Jaelan. By the way, in case you were wondering about Devontae Smith, neither he nor AJ ended up speaking directly to the media, yet the silence is deafening. Well, and then you have the tweet that I mentioned, so whether you agree with it or not, AJ knows what he's doing. It's not to start an exit strategy from Philly, but he also recognizes more often than not the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah. Obviously AJ is very important to this football team. I know he wants to contribute. And, do the things that he's capable of doing. He wants to contribute into these wins. And he's had a couple games where he hasn't been able to, and for different reasons of why we haven't in these games. So, but I question nothing about, his desire to play great football, his desire of being a good teammate, his desire to be here.
Think about where we're at. The Eagles are 4-0, right? But then you have Saquon Barkley, who's 42nd out of 48 running backs with 3.1 yards per carry. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith aren't in the top 50 in receiving yards, the top 50. And then Jalen Hurts is 23rd out of 31 quarterbacks with yards per attempt of 6. On one hand, yes, completely unacceptable for this offense. But they're beating really good teams and haven't even found anything yet. So just imagine what this team is going to look like if and when they play a complete game.
Honestly, from a complimentary standpoint, you couldn't ask for more in the first half. We just have to put it together as a team, and that's something that you can learn from, and that's something that will be fixed. But we're finding ways to win, and that's what it comes down to in the end.
Maybe I'm being too optimistic, and time will certainly tell. By the way, I will gladly admit I was wrong if and when that happens. Well, maybe not gladly, but I will admit it. If I was wrong, I will admit that I was incorrect in the assessment. Should have been optimistic once we get there, if we do. However, for right now, Philly is one of the only 2 remaining 4-0 teams along with the Buffalo Bills. And heck, Sean McDermott's side just struggled at home to a Saints team that's clearly in tank mode. Sure, if it turns into 2023, then we're doomed. But just last year with Kellen Moore even had fear and anxiety about those same issues much later into the season. I'm not talking about the early portion. Remember, Week 13 versus the Ravens, the offense put up just 252 yards and 24 points, followed by a measly 22 points to the Carolina Panthers on 292 yards of offense. Still, I don't blame you to be upset with where the offense is right now, but it's a little bit of an extreme to start calling for any sort of firing. Plus, as opposed to the 23 vibes, QB1 still very clearly has his coordinators back, and the vast majority of the team is about the we over me.
Great call by KP. Being aggressive in that and letting it rip, and we got a lot of confidence in that. We got a lot of confidence in, honestly, all the things we rep a lot. It's just a matter of going out there and bringing it to light.
I like winning. I like winning football. Like I don't know. That's just me. I like winning football games, and I don't care what it looks like. Whether it's me rushing for 20 yards or me rushing for 200 yards, wherever it takes. I don't care if the score is 6-3 or 36-4. Like we're 4-0. But again, the way we played the second half this week and the way we played the first half last week, especially on offense, we won't have a hard time winning football games. So we just got to continue to improve, continue to gel, find, I hate using this word, but identity within offense and in the run game. And that's what the season's for. We're going to continue to get better. And we got guys that want to continue to get better and want to be great, and it's going to continue to buy in. So just look forward to next week.
I just said this in my head. I'd rather have a bad game with a dub than have 6 sacks with a loss, So at the end of the day, you see everybody smile. They over there doing a shadow box and Saquon and them. It just smiles on people's faces. And that's what I'd rather have than, trying to just do solos out there. I'd rather play as a team and, we eat off each other.
Kudos to the defense for gutting it out too, man. Obviously, they were far from perfect too, but one guy who was about as close to perfect as you can get was Quinyon Mitchell. With the cornerback locking up Bucs receivers in Week 4 to the tune of 8 targets, only 2 catches allowed for 6 yards, 0 touchdowns allowed, 5 pass breakups, yes, 5 of them, and a 90.2 PFF grade. Meanwhile, Cooper DeJean was locked down as well, registering 6 combined pass breakups or forced incompletions. Honestly, can't say that I'm surprised by that because really, who is at this point for Q and Coop? But as bad as decisions were for the Eagles offense on Sunday, you might argue that Tampa made worse decisions by targeting Q and Coop instead of Kelee Ringo. That's right, shout out to Anthony DeBona, but the Bucs targeted Q and Coop more than they did Kelee Ringo. Of course, the downside was that Ringo missed several tackles on Sunday. However, he was solid in coverage with just 1 reception allowed on 3 targets for just 8 yards. Now, I'm not saying he's the answer to CB2, but he was more than serviceable on Sunday, and that in itself was a win. Of course, the decision that Vic Fangio did appear to make was with Andrew Nakobe, because the rookie played 100% of the defensive snaps at safety. Granted, you hate to see a 77-yard touchdown given up to Emeka Egbuka on a busted coverage from Nakobe, yet as a rookie, it's not shocking to see a lapse from time to time. Just like we saw Jihaad Campbell allow a 72-yard score to Bucky Irving. Here's the positive, though. This team has still found ways to win despite giving up 2 massive big plays. And even more so, Jihaad still came up with big-time plays in a forced fumble, interception, 4 tackles, and a big tackle for loss.
If that happened to me, my rookie year, I would have been a nervous wreck for the rest of the game, and it would have ruined the rest of the game for me. But I told him on the sideline, you got 20 seconds to think about this and be mad at yourself, and then you got to let it go, and that's exactly what he did. We've talked about it in the past, but I don't think you can fully quantify the benefit and luxury it is to have Zack Baun as Jihaad Campbell's mentor. I mean, the progression is unreal, but having said that, we do need to keep an eye on the injury report because Jason Duma shared after the game that Jihaad has a very noticeable limp. At the same time, he was on the report early last week and ended up playing, so I'll keep you posted. On the positive front, though, we are on to Week 5, and you know what that means. That was the week that Nakobe Dean had posted about several weeks ago for his timeline of returning to action for Philly. For the record, we have not gotten an official update yet, but just another injury to watch for because once Nakobe does come back, it's going to give Fangio some crazy options for the linebackers. Not gonna lie, I would still be a little bit surprised if Dean played because he's got to pass several tests and we haven't seen or heard anything yet, but it wouldn't be
Shocking, because Dean did post it like I mentioned on the Instagram there. If I had to bet against it or if I had to bet for the outcome, I would still probably say not quite ready for the Broncos. Regardless, though, the optimism there isn't the same story for the edge position for the Eagles, as it was confirmed after the game that Ogbo Okoronkwo tore his triceps and will be out the rest of the season. So first off, hate to hear that. Prayers up for his recovery. But if you're wondering what the next option is, well, it should finally give Azeez Ojulari a chance to see the field. Yet when you go back and see Fangio blitz Zack Baun, the best coverage linebacker in the NFL, double-digit times against the Bucs, I'm kind of with Eric, who argued you just know he's going to ask Howie for another edge rusher. Look, it's pretty impressive Fangio's gotten it to work how he has with the lack of edge rush production. And I said this back when Nolan Smith went out. I don't think they're going to make a trade unless maybe there was a long-term injury. This was before the game. So now that you have Ogbo out, kind of see maybe something happening. Especially now because the four-man rush is not getting home, and heck, we're 4 games into the season, and the Eagles' edge rushers have only accounted for half a sack combined. In case you weren't sure, that's Zadarius Smith with the half a sack. Of course, J-Lix Hunt leads the team with 11 pressures, but it's not getting the job done. Anyway, we can play hypotheticals all you want, but I brought up Miami Dolphins pass rusher Jaelan Phillips as a guy to keep an eye on last week. Which is why when Eagles beat writer Zach Berman recently said to keep an eye on the result of the Dolphins game Monday night, that definitely piqued my interest. Because I'm sure everyone knows this by now, but Zach Berman is one of the most plugged-in guys that covers the Eagles. Now, obviously, he didn't report it as a source telling him something directly, but just for him to throw that out there speaks volumes. Plus, ESPN's Dan Graziano already mentioned Phillips as a guy likely on the move once the Dolphins decide to start selling, especially since he's on the final year of his contract. Just saying, where there's smoke, there's usually fire with these things. And Berman makes the second Eagles beat writer in the last month to connect the dots to Phillips. Reminder that SI's Ed Crack shared a month ago that the 2 names he was hearing for an Eagles trade were Trayvon Walker of the Jaguars and Jaelan Phillips, which first off, a trade to Phillips would be much cheaper. But also with the Jaguars now 3-1 having beaten the Niners, they wouldn't be sellers anyway. Oh, and the other important piece to bring up is that Walker is now dealing with a wrist injury, so you're not going to trade him at that point anyway. I don't know. Once Nolan Smith gets back, I am more confident in this pass rush. But getting a guy like Jaelan Phillips, who's 6'5", 265 pounds, and knows Fangio's system is probably worth the gamble at this point. Granted, I did see other points made about the Jets' Jermaine Johnson, given his ties to Joe Douglas. And yeah, he was a top 15 edge when healthy, but it does seem more likely that a guy like Phillips happens, if anyone at all. As always, make sure to subscribe, turn the notifications on, because if we get a big move, anything there, I'll be going live letting you guys know. Anyway, one more topic on the injuries, because I had some people asking about Jalen Carter, who's been off and on. He is dealing with a shoulder injury, but not sounding too concerned.
It's all right. I've been out through pain all my life, so it ain't really nothing new. Just go in tomorrow, get some treatment, and see what's the issue, and then work on it for the next week and get better so I can be more 100% for the next game.
Still wouldn't surprise me if JC takes a couple sessions off. If you see a DNP or some limited sessions, don't freak out. We saw that last week, or at least we have over the past couple weeks. They're going to get him right, but he's going to play through it, so no major concerns of him missing time. Now, to end with some positives, Cameron Latu has turned into a beast on special teams, coming up with a punt block along with countless other tackles on Sunday. And I don't think anybody's upset. He's turned into a pleasant surprise there, although his punt block led to a defensive touchdown as the first score of the game on Sunday. Meaning congrats to Mike Ross for correctly predicting a defensive touchdown as the first score of the game. I know, technically it was special teams, but I'll honor it since a defensive touchdown in fantasy, usually works the same way. Mike, I just need to hear from you. Email me, DM me on one of the socials so I can confirm it's you and get the jersey sent to you. For everyone else, make sure to comment on this video, get entered for your chance for 2 Eagles tickets to any game of your choice. I will announce that on an upcoming video. All right, don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but there's a real chance the Eagles are 8-0 going into the bye with Green Bay and Detroit coming out of the bye. I mean, heck, we got home versus Denver, at New York, at Minnesota on extended rest, and then at home versus New York. So just saying, let's make the corrections, keep improving, and I don't know, maybe get a trade done in the meantime. I'm going to hold to this. We still have everything in front of us. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll catch you on the next one. This has been the Philly Special.